50th rank this time, and medical science was my optional subject. So I have had a pretty good and long experience with medical science. So that's why I have been invited here to help all of you to the best of my capabilities in your journey to clear this exam in flying colors with medical science as your optional subject. So we can start the session. So before that, I would like to know what would you prefer, whether should I talk about how my journey was in the beginning, or should I just take questions from you all and answer them as much as possible? What would you prefer? Responses, please, so that I can customize. Okay, so someone has messaged me to give a brief introduction of how I prepared. Okay, so initially I'll do that. So I passed out in 2016. So after that, I wrote one mains, then I couldn't clear prelims in between. So there was a huge break in between when I joined for work. So then I came back and prepared again. So my, as far as 2019, my attempt, which came out successfully, is concerned, the preparation for that attempt, I would say, started from September 2018. So I started preparing from September 2018 with 2019 exam in my focus. So when I started out in 2018 September, it was a little bit difficult in the beginning because by then I had taken a little bit of a break. But then I made a plan. I had a plan, and I knew that if I, as I said earlier, my preparation started sometime in September. So I started in September 2019, sorry, September 2018. And then when I started off, I took out the syllabus and I found that for each paper, when you take each paper, there are some larger subjects which, which are more difficult to conquer. So as far as paper one is concerned, anatomy, pathology and pharmacology were those subjects for me in the first paper. And for the second paper, general medicine, general surgery, and community medicine. These three were the larger subjects in the second paper. So my initial intention was to cover all the larger subjects before the prelims exam. So before prelims exam, I wanted to finish the bigger subjects and make as much notes as possible from those subjects. So that's how I started out. So I read anatomy by myself. I used common textbooks. I didn't go for any complicated textbooks because it would have been very difficult that way. So I went for common textbooks, and I used Neeta Kulkarni. That's the text I used for anatomy. So I read the all the topics that are given in our syllabus in the portion, and after doing that, I made notes out of it. So when you make notes, one thing that you should focus on is the fact that you shouldn't make very elaborate notes. Okay, you shouldn't make very elaborate notes, because if you make elaborate notes, then it's not going to serve the purpose. So try to make concise notes, give more importance to figures, and don't try and draw very complicated figures because that's going to be very difficult. So can someone just message me whether you can hear me or not? Okay. So yeah, so what I did is, yes, I received the messages. Thank you. So I'll continue. So don't try and make very elaborate notes, make concise notes. So why I'm saying to make concise notes is because, first of all, that will be easy for you to revise. Second of all, when you check the booklet that is provided for you to write the mains exam in the hall, when you check that video, check that booklet, you will understand that the space provided beneath each question is also limited. So if you have this tendency of learning a lot on each topic, you won't be able to produce that much of a content in the answer paper. So in that case, it is difficult. So you should make concise notes. For example, this year we had a question about knee joint as the compulsory question in the first paper. Okay, so we had a question on knee joint. So I had learned so much about knee joint. There is no as much space provided in paper in order for me to write everything that I know about knee joint. So, go to the basic topics which are given in the books and
write concise notes under each topics. For example, as far as knee joint is concerned, what are the intra-articular structures? What are the ligaments surrounding knee joints? One figure to, kind of show everything. So make concise notes and definitely draw figures. Even if you miss out on sentences elaborating those figures, your figure itself can make a lot of difference to your marks. So figures are important and concise notes. So that is what I did for anatomy. I tried and made notes for every topic that has been given in the syllabus. I tried and made notes on every topic given in the syllabus with figures, and I made concise notes, which really helped me during the revision as well as in putting my content properly in the limited space that is there in the booklet. So that is what I did for anatomy. I used the book Neeta Kulkarni. I used it because I had used the same book during my graduation. So whatever book you used for graduation, you can use the same. Then coming to physiology again, I would say the book I refer, you need not refer to the same book because I studied in Kerala. So most of my professors have written books. So I tried and used those books, which might not be available for most of you. So you can use whichever book you used back in college. So for physiology also, I did the same. But then physiology, I didn't do it before my prelims. I kept physiology for later. So before prelims, I focused on anatomy one, and second was pharmacology. Because if you check, the pharmacology syllabus is really big. Okay, it's really big. You have to study all the antibiotics, you have to study all the antivirals, you have to study so many drugs. So pharmacology is a very volatile subject also, which you kind of tend to forget very fast. So revision is the key there. So what you have to do is I never sat and studied pharmacology like in a day or two. No, that is not possible because pharmacology is a little bit boring also that way. So what I did is every day I used to study one class of drugs. So one class of drugs every day. So that way, I didn't have to cram up everything that is there in pharmacology by taking 3 or 4 days solely for pharmacology. So I used to wake up in the morning, study one class of drugs. Next day I used to wake up again. I used to revise the class of drugs I studied the previous day, and then study one more new class of drugs. So that's how I prepared pharmacology. And pharmacology, I didn't make notes. I had used this book Sharma and Sharma back in college. So whatever is necessary for the exam, I just underlined and kept those in the textbook itself so that I can read the same again when I come back to pharmacology. So I did that for pharmacology and then for pathology. So for pathology, what I did is I did read through everything given in the syllabus, and for the histopathology, the growths and the microscopic figure of the each disease that has been given in the syllabus. I freehand itself I had made and kept simple simple diagrams with HNE pencils. So I didn't go for those complicated diagrams you get when you Google out. So I used the help of few doctors who were in pathology, who were in my contact. I asked them to make simple HNE figures for me for each of those diseases mentioned in the syllabus, which they did, and I used the same figures. And with the help of that figure itself, I tried and studied the histopathology of those diseases. So that's what I did for pathology. So for these three subjects, I prepared much before the prelims itself, and I kept revising them, and I kept revising them. So these are the three things I did before prelims for the first paper. Then after prelims, I started with the rest of the subjects. Now, before coming to that, I did mention that I had tried to finish some points from the second paper also. So my plan was to finish general medicine, general surgery, and SPM before prelims, but that didn't happen because we have a lot to study for prelims. So I tried and finished general medicine. So for general medicine, what I did is for all the infectious diseases, I made my own notes. Then I had for all the small, other topics, the systemic diseases given in the syllabus. What I did was I had attended a small crash course. I had attended a small crash course in medical science. So the madam who took that crash course, Shweta madam, she had provided. It was a 3-4 month long course, but due to paucity of time, I could attend it only for like 2 months or 1.5 months. So during the period when I attended, she had made these. She had dictated some good notes for those topics. So I had the notes for most of the systemic diseases. I didn't have to prepare them from scratch because it was already provided. So those notes were what I used, and I did value addition to those notes from Davidson. After reading Davidson, I did add a lot of extra points also. So this is what I did before prelims for general medicine. In general medicine itself, you can see there is a small psychiatry topic and radiology topic. For psychiatry and radiology, I had prepared my own notes before prelims. So this much was done before prelims right from September 2018. So from September 2018 till June 2019, that is the day of prelims, whatever I did was I finished anatomy, I finished pharmacology, I finished pathology, and I tried and finished most of general medicine. But then first paper, the three subjects in the first paper, I had given much more focus. So this much was done by March 2018. Then April and May, I completely focused on prelims, and then I gave my prelims in June. After prelims, I had a good enough score, so I knew that came in time. So I continued with medical science, and I tried and one model. I hope I'm audible. Yes. So okay, I think I'm audible. So I'm continuing. I can see some messages saying I'm audible. Fine. So after prelims, initial 1 month I focused more on the GS part, and then for entire July and August till mid-September, my most of my focus was on medical itself. So how I scheduled my preparation was that from morning 8 till night 8, that is from my breakfast to dinner, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I focused on my optional. Before 8 a.m. and after p.m. I focused on GS. So that's how I did after prelims. After prelims, whatever portion was left, I tried focusing on that. I had a combined study partner, so we sat together and learned as much of portions as possible. And yeah, so then I just went according to the syllabus using whatever books that I did for my graduation. So this is how I strategized my preparation for that 1 year from September 2018 till I gave my mains in September 2019. Then another one thing is 2 weeks before my exam started, 2 weeks before my exam started, I had actually stopped preparing for MS, and then I completely started focusing on GS. And then my plan was there was a 4 day gap between the GS papers and the optional paper. So my plan was to focus on paper 2 for the initial 2 days of the 4 day gap, and then focus on paper 1 for the last 2 days. And I think it worked in my favor because in paper 1, you have a lot to by heart. You have to focus very well on that portion during that 4 day gap. So when I did that towards the end, I went fresh with those content in my head for the first paper, which helped me write the first paper really well. So this is what I did. This is a very brief way of saying how I prepared for the last exam in the exam of September 2019. Now I will start taking questions. You can ask me anything. I will try and so one question is whether I made any notes after prelims. No, after prelims, see, I recognized my strengths and my weaknesses. I knew what are those topics which will require note making, what are those subjects where I would have to, you know, um, not depend on textbooks anymore and rather depend on notes. So those subjects were anatomy, pathology, and general. Okay. I tried and made flowcharts for the management of various diseases after prelims. I didn't, make notes in the perfect sense after prelims. No, I didn't do that. So what I did is I recognized my weaknesses, my weak areas, and after recognizing those weak areas, I made notes for those weak regions much before prelims itself and kept them handy, so that after prelims I will not have to, struggle with all those subjects which I found difficult. So that was mainly anatomy, general medicine, and pathology. So all that I did and kept before. After prelims, I didn't make much notes, but yes, as I said earlier, I did make flowcharts. Now there is a question, 20 marks question or 5 mark into 4 questions, which should be opt if we know both questions at equal level. So one thing I would like to say is always start with the um, mandatory questions. That is question number 1 and 5. You have to start with the mandatory questions itself, because more marks are allotted for the questions that are asked in question number 1 and 5. So you have to provide more focus on that. After that, only you should opt for rest of the questions based on your strengths. For those questions, I think it will be better if you opt for the 5 into 4 questions rather than 20 into 1. That will be better for scoring more marks, because out of 20, the amount of marks you can score, and the out of the 4 questions, each worth 5 marks, the amount of marks you can score. If you compare both, you will be able to score more marks into the 5 into 4 section. So it's better if you go for that. Now, the third question, test series, how did you use them? As very few will opt for test writing. So yes, one important thing I would like to say is that test series for medical science is important in the sense it will help you with your time management, because papers tend to be very lengthy. So when you give a test series properly, that will really help you understanding how important time management is. So it will help you with your time management. Second, it will help you write whatever content you have in your head in the limited space. You will be trained to write whatever you know in the limited space possible. If you're sitting in the hall for the first time trying to write answers, it is going to be a little bit difficult, because you might have prepared a lot and the space will be very less. Okay, you might have prepared a lot and the space is going to be very less. So that planning of how to provide answers in the limited space possible, if that has to be cultivated. Okay, that has you have to be trained for that. So for that, test, test series is for producing your content properly in the right amount of space in the right time after studying. So test series is for you to give your best. Now, another question is, using colors for diagrams and intro, is it a must? I wouldn't say colors is a must for diagrams, but then when you make histopathology diagrams, you should use HNE pencils. Due to paucity of time, otherwise I wouldn't prefer, I wouldn't completely recommend using colors, but then I did use colors for my paper. I did face paucity of time, because of which I left somewhere around 15 or 20, 15 to 20 marks for my first paper, but I did complete my second paper. So yes, I did try and use colors in most of the diagrams as possible, but then that should be a smart decision you take based on, the time available. Next question is how to tackle clinical questions in paper 2. So the thing is, when you prepare for paper 2, when you prepare the content for paper 2 itself, take each disease, think of a patient coming to you with that disease, and then just work out how you will, manage that particular patient, right from history taking until diagnosing the patient, until providing the investigations and, treatment and the entire management. So how will you tackle a patient? Think whenever you take a topic and prepare it, after studying that topic, think of a clinical scenario of how a patient comes to you and what all you will do. If you think it in that way, you will automatically orient your answers clinically in your head. And then it's just a matter of time until you write and practice, all those things that have come to your mind while you think of it in a clinical scenario.
So to tackle clinical questions, all you have to do is take each disease, study the theory part properly, then think of a patient coming to you with that disease, with the symptoms of that particular disease, then think what all questions will you ask in the history taking part to get your provisional diagnosis. Then what are the differential diagnoses that can happen? How will you rule out each differential diagnosis with the investigations possible? And finally, how will you come to the final diagnosis? And then also definitely the management part also, apart from the investigations, the treatment part also. So to tackle clinical questions, you would have to start thinking in a clinical way, which you can do after finishing your theory for each disease. Ma'am, it's getting difficult to complete a whole paper. How to tackle this? See, time management is something that will come to you only with practice. I struggled with time management. I did struggle a lot with time management. Even after giving like two, I gave 2 or 3 tests before the actual exam, in fact. But then when I went to the paper, when I went to the hall and took my first paper, I had a lot of time shortage. In fact, I had to write for some 60 marks in the last 35-40 minutes. So time management is a little bit tricky because you have a lot of content to write. So that will happen only with practice. So time management, I would just say practice writing. Roughly how many flowcharts did you use in paper 2 answers? Okay, so for both paper 1 and paper 2, I did make it a point to draw flowcharts in many questions, not just in paper 2, in paper 1 also. Because sometimes you have a lot of things to write and you might not have the space. So in such cases, you can instead of writing in paragraphs, you can in place of that you can draw a flowchart and keep. So as I mentioned earlier, in the gap between prelims and mains, when I used to revise whatever I studied earlier, and whenever I used to study a new topic, I made flowcharts for most of the topics and kept them, beforehand before the exam itself, so that I can copy paste it the same way in my answer paper. For example, I think in pharmacology, whenever a medicine comes, its mechanism of action, the side effects, everything, the possible drug interactions, everything was already made as flowcharts. In my head, I had already framed those flowcharts. Similarly, laboratory diagnosis of any pathogen in microbiology, everything was already, I had already made notes in flowcharts. So that really helped because my content was less. So because my content, yet even though the content is less, I had all the points were included also. So flowcharts really help you with space management. And when you deliver your content as flowcharts, you're saving time also. So I use many flowcharts. I can't give a number. I use that in paper 1 as well as paper 2. What is the right format to write clinical questions is another question. So if you ask me the right format, it depends on the type of clinical question. For example, I think this year, as in the last mains which I wrote, there was a compulsory question on dengue. So in that question, they weren't asking us how to work out. How would I work up with a patient coming with dengue? Instead, the 3 phases of the diseases were asked. So I actually remember drawing 3 columns and the 3 phases of the disease and showing the progression from one phase to the other and then that phase to the other. So for such a question, you will have to deliver your content as such. For other questions wherein you have a proper case scenario given to you and you're expected to work out the patient, then I think I've already mentioned the format. You will have to start from your history taking. You will have to give your differential diagnosis based on the history. How would you rule out each differential diagnosis based on the investigations? And how will you finally arrive at your final diagnosis? And once the final diagnosis has attained, you have attained it, then how will you go with the investigations? Sorry, not the investigations, the treatment of the patient. So this is the format. Putting this format in that limited space is a little bit tricky. It is a little bit of a challenge. So for that, I would say you will. So I use flowcharts to do that. I use flowcharts to do that. So for each differential diagnosis that I have, I would just write whatever. How can I rule out each of that with each investigation? And I use flowcharts there. So you will have to practice doing that. There is no shortcut because you already know the content. It's just about writing it. So for that, practice is what is needed, I would say. This is the format. Right from history taking until the treatment, whatever we do during our clinical setup, you have to just put those in words in a very legible, organized manner. That is the expected format. I am asked another question: how many tests did I attempt? So I had joined for IAS Delhi's test series, but then due to paucity of time again, I couldn't give all those tests properly. So I gave only, I think for IAS Delhi, I gave only like 2 tests. But then I did make it a point to read the rest of the test papers and, frame answers in my head and compare it with the toppers copies that they provided to me because I had paid for the test series. I was provided with the toppers copy. So by doing that, what I did is I understood how others are answering each question. So whatever good was there in those toppers copies, I used to adapt my answers also in such a way that even my answers will look like that. So I attempted only 2 tests, but then because of that, I had a little bit of a time management issue in the hall. So it depends on how much time you have during your preparation, I would say. For differential diagnosis, can they just be enumerated or should we explain with reasons? It depends on for how much mark the differential diagnosis asks. So if it's asked for like a 1 mark or 2 mark, you can just enumerate them. But then if the DDs are asked for like 5 marks, you should just validate why you think this is a differential diagnosis too. Okay, ma'am, for question number 1 and 5, since they are compulsory, which subject should we focus more? See, they are asking the mandatory questions from all the subjects mentioned in the syllabus. So I don't think it will be wise to leave out one subject completely. So there is no one subject you can focus more because in 1 and in 5, there will be questions from all the subjects mentioned in the syllabus. So I would never recommend leaving a subject. I would never recommend that. So you will have to focus on all subjects. But then there is one thing you can do, which I actually did. So it is that for paper 1 and paper 2, if you see, there are 2 sections and you can opt 3 questions. Only 1 and 5 are mandatory. You can opt for 3 questions. So these 3 questions you can opt from either that is section A or section B of paper 1 and 2. So what I did is I made section B of paper 1 and section A of paper 2 very strong so that I can opt questions accordingly. So for me, since I had already completed pathology and pharmacology beforehand, microbiology is a relatively smaller subject. Then forensic medicine is also something you can easily tackle, except for the toxicology part because that needs a lot of by hearting. So since I had already completed patho and pharmac beforehand, and since micro was also a smaller subject, which can be easily mastered with flow charts and everything, my section B of paper 1, I had made it pretty strong. So I did that with the intention that apart from the mandatory questions, whatever questions I can opt for, I should be opting from section B itself. So for that, I made my section B of paper 1 very strong. Similarly, for paper 2, I made my section 1 very strong. So the reason section A very strong. So why I chose section A in paper 2 was because the general medicine is a big subject. But apart from that, you have 2 small subjects, dermatology and pediatrics. They are relatively smaller. When you check syllabus wise, those subjects are relatively smaller. But even though those subjects are relatively smaller, that doesn't mean they won't ask questions from that. Which means if you finish the limited amount of topics that have been given under both those subjects in section A of paper 1, you are definitely going to write whatever question which will come that can come out of those subjects, which means it's more of your advantage as far as marks are concerned. So pediatrics and dermatology are tinier subjects, so I mastered them really well. General medicine, for all the tough parts, I had made notes beforehand, so I prepared general medicine also really well. Always remember, while you prepare general medicine, please don't omit psychiatry and radiology part. They are also very important. You can have like a 10 or 15 mark question from psychiatry, and I wouldn't recommend leaving psychiatry and leaving that question. Don't do that. So study general medicine, dermatology, and pediatrics really well, because if you study that part very well, you can opt for all the 3 questions from the same section. So I did do that, and I selected my optional questions accordingly. So in my case, I made my section B of paper 1 and section A of paper 2 very strong. That was for choosing the questions in my favor. Now, how to manage time for optional and GS after prelims. Okay, that is another question that I have received. See, medical science is a very demanding optional subject. Okay, you will have to devote a lot of time to that. When you look the syllabus, it can be a little bit misleading. You might feel that okay, this is easily tackled. You can easily tackle it given the amount of things you have studied during our graduation, but that's not the case. It needs a lot of attention. It needs a lot of attention from you. So I mentioned what I did. So I don't know whether it's ideal, but it worked for me. So I can just tell you what I did, and you can choose it accordingly based on whatever the situation you are in. So what I did is after prelims for 1 month, that is, I gave my prelims in the beginning of June. So for entire June, I focused on my GS and made it as much, I wouldn't say, yeah, as much strong as possible. I made my GS as strong as possible soon after prelims. But then I wish I should have spent like 2 hours per day at least for medicine while, focusing more on GS during that month. So for June, I completely focused on GS. Then in July and August, I gave a 12-hour focus per day. I wouldn't say 12, but somewhere between 9 to 12 hours focus per day for medical science. So my strategy was from 8 a.m. in the morning till 8 p.m. in the night. I used to study medical science with my combined study partner. We used to sit together and study. So for entire July and entire August, from 8 a.m. in the morning till 8 p.m. in the night, that's what I did. Before 8 a.m. and after 8 p.m. was the time when I went back to GS, revising everything that I studied in the initial 1 month and adding whatever extra points that could possibly come my way. So this is how I managed time till the 31st of August. Then in September, I took a break from medical science. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. was again devoted for general studies. Medical science was done only before 8 a.m. After only before 8 a.m., I just revised whatever was possible for MS. Then rest of the time for 2 weeks in September was completely given for not for 2 weeks. I think I started focusing more on GS from September 10th. So from September 10th to September 25th, I completely changed my preparation day. More focus was given on GS. Then what I did was I had already planned what I will do for the 4 days gap that I get between, the GS papers and the option paper. So that plan was also made, and according to that, I finished my paper two portions, revision of paper two portions in the initial 2.5 days, and the latter 2.5 days I used for finishing the revision of paper one. So that's how I managed my time. Did you make notes for GS subjects after prelims? In the initial 1 month, yes, I did. After that, I didn't. I was writing more for GS rather than making notes. Ma'am, even after studying most of the part and having self-made notes of most of the syllabus, I am not being confident when it comes to writing answers. How can I do? Yes, this is going to be a very common issue because you will study a lot. Studying is not as difficult. Okay, we can easily study most of the things that have been given. Difficulty is retaining whatever we are studying. Second difficulty is writing it properly. So for retaining it, revision is the key. For example, if you take paper one of medical science, it's just by hearting and spitting out. You have to by heart it as much as possible. You have to make sure that whatever you have by hearted, you retain it in your head. So for that, revision is the key. Just reread, and reread content in paper one. I can tell you what I did. So for paper one, as I said, I studied from the standard textbooks which I used back in college. I studied everything from that, but then it's very easy to forget all that. So what I did is for subjects like anatomy, physiology, and pharmacology, even though like I had already completed them, my brother-in-law was doing my brother-in-law as in my husband's younger brother was doing his first year of MBBS. So he had just completed his first year of MBBS. So I used to ask him to come and stay with me, and whenever I used to have food with him, like the breakfast, lunch, and dinner time, I used to tell him to I used to give him one topic. Okay, you teach me all the fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, K, whatever you know, keep telling. So he used to keep telling these things to me so that I can hear them as much times as possible. Similarly, for pharmacology, what I did is I had this combined study partner. So we made it a point to call each other every alternative day. And, I will teach her one class of drugs. She will teach me another class of drugs. So I might have already studied all this beforehand. But then by hearing it again, by saying it again, by making people say it again, I was trying to, reread and reread. It kind of did what rereading would do. So find your own ways to read and reread and reread, because that is what is needed for the first paper. For the second paper, more than by hearting is your clinical orientation that matters there, which I think most of us already have. So second paper is more easy to score marks if you actually compare the marks of first paper and second paper. Second paper, every person has his or her own way of doing it, working out with their patients. So second paper is relatively a little bit more easy to score marks. First paper is what is a little bit on the tougher side. For that, it's just by hearting, revising, rereading, and retaining most of what is there in the syllabus. That is what will make a difference. Now coming to the next question. Okay, sorry, I didn't answer one part of the question. Less confident when it comes to writing answers. So even if we study the whole thing, there can be a lot of friction when you start writing answers. So initially it is going to be difficult. Accept it, it is initially going to be difficult. When I tried writing an answer in July, it was very, very difficult for me to write it. So it is going to be difficult. You have to, give it some time, overcome that friction. Only then will, the sun shine on your side. So just give it a little bit of time. Don't be disheartened when your answers are not coming out well. That is normal. That is a process which most of us go through. So it's okay. Okay, it's okay. So just keep writing. Don't stop writing and don't stay disheartened just because things are not going well. But then if you have your content strong, writing is something you can easily master. So just give it some time and keep writing. Avoid your, don't succumb to your inhibitions, overcome your inhibitions. Now, the next question. Have you completed the whole syllabus or some topics were still left before appearing for the final day because it seems difficult to complete the full syllabus? I think I completed almost, I believe I finished almost everything. Because I had made it the point that I won't leave even a single word in the syllabus. It might be difficult, but then, I did complete everything. I did complete most of the topics. I think maybe I might have prioritized certain topics more than the other, but then I finished the whole syllabus. One thing which I didn't finish in the syllabus, I would say, was toxicology, because it was just very difficult to by heart all those things. So for toxicology and all, I selected few topics and studied. I didn't complete the whole toxicology part. So like that, maybe I might have did few selections and omissions in few places. Otherwise, it was fine. I completed almost entire syllabus. Did you divert from the syllabus mentioned? Yes. See, there is one thing. We can have out of syllabus questions, but always remember, even if you omit that out of syllabus question, you will be able to score really good marks. So just for the sake of one or two out of syllabus questions that can come for the paper, please don't study things outside the syllabus. Please stay focused on the syllabus itself. I didn't divert from the syllabus. I stayed glued to the syllabus itself. There can be few questions, and given the fact that these are subjects which we learned over 5 years, it won't be like you can't write anything if a question out of box comes. You will be able to write something or the else for an out of syllabus question. You won't have to leave it empty unless there is paucity of time. So don't worry. Just because there can be one or two out of syllabus questions, that too, they usually ask out of syllabus questions only in the compulsory questions 1 and 5. But that is okay. Even if you leave that one or two questions without writing a single word, even if you leave that also, you have the potential to score 300 plus out of 500. So never divert from the syllabus. No, I never prepared. I'm getting a question. Did I prepare for out of syllabus questions? No, I never prepared for any out of syllabus questions. I stayed completely glued to the syllabus. Dose of drugs to be remembered? No. I see for few drugs it's important. I didn't study dose of drugs for all the drugs mentioned. No. For few important drugs, yes. Otherwise, no. Ma'am, in clinical questions in flowchart way, options of treatment or specific treatment, which should be written? It depends on the question and the marks. Srija has asked me that question. It depends on the question and depends on how much marks has been allotted to that question. So if it's like a 15-mark question, a clinical scenario with 15 or 20 marks, then yes, I would write various choices of treatment. If it's like a 5-mark question or a 10-mark question, depending on the space available, I will stick myself to the specific treatments. See, so one thing that you all should do is whenever you get the question booklet, you should look for how much space has been provided. Always remember, you won't get a proper paper. There are margins on both sides. So you are getting a very limited space to write the answer. So always check how much paper or how much pages have been given for you to write the answer, and then plan and write the answer. Because the first paper, because there was paucity of time and everything, I made few mistakes like that without looking for the space. I started answering a few and it all just got messed up in the end. So that shouldn't happen. Always look how much space is available, then plan your content and write the answer. See, if you give test series before, that is one advantage. You will already be prepared for that. I'm getting another question whether I solved test papers for medical science. I already answered that, but I will say it again. Due to paucity of time, I couldn't systematically sit and write a proper question. That was a little bit difficult. But then I tried and I gave around 2 to 3 question papers I tried to solve. In paper, I tried to solve around two question papers, to be frank. But then what I did is I did take the question papers for the test series that I had joined at IAS Delhi. I did take the question papers and I used to look at the questions and I used to frame answers in my head. After doing that, I used to go through the toppers copies to see what all value addition I can do to my answer. There are questions about diagrams. Can we skip theory part for that question? See, yes, you can. In the sense, I remember there was this question on knee joint. One statement was ligaments of knee joint. So the space was very limited. So I just drew a figure of knee joint. I drew all the ligaments and I just marked what all each ligament, I just named all the ligaments in the figure itself. So that's all what I did. Similarly, in paper 2, I remember there was a question on histopathology of psoriasis. Psoriasis is a topic for us in dermatology. So there was this question on histopathology of psoriasis. And the paper 2 was a little bit lengthy this time. So what I did is I knew that I don't have the time to explain the whole thing. I just drew the figure of histopathology of psoriasis and whatever is possible, suprapapillary thinning and all the superficial, all the abscesses you can get in the epidermal layer and everything, inflammatory cells and everything that can be mentioned in the histopathology of psoriasis. I drew a diagram and marked everything. So rather than sitting and explaining for the whole thing. And after drawing that figure, I understood that, this is the best that can come for this question. Nothing more can be written. This diagram is self-explanatory. I've marked everything. I've drawn everything. So I was really happy by skipping, the theory part and just drawing the diagram. So diagrams are very important. If you have paucity of time and your options are to either draw a diagram or to write the theory, I would suggest draw the diagram. Next question is, Madam, I feel that I had sufficient knowledge regarding the topics given in the syllabus, but I'm unable to write the answer completely because when I'm attempting a question, I'm able to complete the answer within 100 words only because I remember keywords. Okay. So basically, the question is that the person thinks he or she has sufficient knowledge, but then they're not able to write it. So as I mentioned, writing is something that can come with practice. And see, unlike GS papers, when you study medical science and try writing answers, it doesn't need like very long duration for you to get the knack of writing. It will happen in a week. If you judiciously sit for a week and try to write answers, you will be able to write answers by the next Monday for sure. So it's easier because it is a scientific subject. It is easier. Now, if you feel that there is something insufficient in your answer or something is wrong, the best way to understand how to go about it is by asking, if you're joining a test series, by asking the person who's correcting your paper to give the feedback. If you're not joining a test series, I did try and make contacts with few doctors who had got into service before. I never met them personally. I contacted them through, messages and everything. And I was like, sir, can I please send an answer? Can you please correct it for me? So I had contacted Debjyoti sir, who had got into service in 2018, and I had no personal connection with him at all. But then he happily, accepted my request, and hence I did send over one of my answers. And then he told me that, there was this question, there was this clinical scenario, and the diagnosis was asked for 5 months, and I just gave a single sentence as the answer to that. So it was him who told me, no, this is not the way you have to write. Whatever I just told you, most of those things came from what he told me back then. So you can do one thing you can do is either correct your paper. If you have a peer group, show it to each other and correct it like that, or try make contacts with people who are in service and ask them to evaluate or give their feedback. So in that way you can correct whatever you think is insufficient in your answer. Okay, Priyanka is asking, which subjects do we need to make notes? Which subjects do we not? So that is a very personal choice. So for me, I made notes on anatomy. I made notes on pathology. I made notes for general medicine. I made notes for pediatrics. Yeah. So these are the 4 subjects I made notes for. And the reason was because I knew that, these are the 4 places where um, uh, I can, the note making would be of the greatest advantage for me. So that is why I made notes on these 4 subjects. For general surgery, I just highlighted and kept everything in Manipal Manual of Surgery. For pharmacology, I just highlighted and kept everything in Sharma and Sharma. For forensic medicine, I used this review of forensic medicine and toxicology, which most PG aspirants use. So in that, everything was already given in a point format. So I didn't have to make notes. So I just followed everything in that textbook. So it's a very personal choice, I would say. I personally made notes on anatomy because it is a very vast subject. To pathology, again, because it is vast and I wanted notes with histopathology figures. So I had to do it beforehand. Then I made notes on general medicine because, again, it is a very big subject and there are so many portions, all of which you can't find in a single text. Unlike surgery, for general surgery, everything was there in Manipal Manual. So I didn't have to make a separate note. But then in general medicine, the topics are very scattered. They're across different textbooks and everything. So I had to compile them together in one place. So that is the reason why I made notes for general medicine. For pediatrics, I made notes because management of most of the pediatric diseases, I wanted to draw flow charts and everything. So that is the reason why I made notes for pediatrics. For microbiology, I constructed flow charts for the lab diagnosis of most of the diseases given. If you can count that as notes, then I would say I made notes for microbiology too. How to cover updates of PSM? Do they need to be covered or can they be skipped? I would say what I did for PSM was when you study for GS2, that is when you study social justice, health is a topic there. So whatever schemes and policies are in the limelight will be there, will be covered for social justice. So every scheme that came out in that 1 year with respect to health, you can get it through PIB or PRS. If it's a legislation, then PRS. Otherwise, any scheme or any any census or any survey that has been carried out, most of it will come in PIB, which will come in some current affairs magazine or the newspaper as such. So when something like that comes out, you have to provide it a little bit of focus. So my updation of PSM was by preparing for social justice in GS2. And if you kind of know the public health aspect properly, even if a scheme is asked and you know nothing about it, even then you will be able to write the you know answer. For example, any policy is asked, there you can yourself provide for heading, the target, the objectives, the vision, the goal, the mission. You yourself can make these headings in your, you can give these headings and write something or the else related to that disease beneath each topic. So for PSM, I tried, those kind of little tips and tricks that whenever a scheme is asked, I will have these 4 headings in place. The targets of the scheme, the goal of the scheme, the objectives, the vision, the groundwork, and the implementation. So these are the 5 headings I have. So any scheme, these 5 headings, and write whatever is possible under each of these headings related to that disease. That was my target. For those policies which I didn't know, for those which I knew, what I did is, how did I prepare them was by following current affairs through PIB and Health Ministry, website and all. Okay, I've been asked to share my notes on platforms. The thing is, I'm already in Labasna for my foundation course, so it is going to be a little bit tough because the notes are back in my home. I can't guarantee, but then let me see. I'll try to do that. Okay, then I'm getting a question. How many revisions did you do before final exam? So revisions for first paper, I did a lot of revisions in the sense, even like for the entire July and August, my main focus was on the second paper. But then I did make it a point to spend at least 1.5 hours revising whatever I studied for the first paper. So I revised as much as possible by reading it and rereading it. Then by by communicating with my friends, by communicating with my combined study partner, by communicating with my brother-in-law, all these people, like that also I kept. I always stayed in contact with everything in paper one because paper one needs a lot of by hearting. So if I count all of that, I think I must have done at least 3 to 5 revisions of paper one. For paper two, I must have done only 2 revisions because I only had time for that. Okay, I'm again getting a question from Srija of how I tackled GS and MS. I already answered that, dear. My 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. would be my content was built. For GS, my content building happened in June. Then in July and August, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. was completely devoted for medical science. Before 8 a.m. and after 8 p.m. was the time when I revised the GS content I built in June and I tried writing them. All the test series that I gave for mains, GS papers, all that was written before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m. Then in September, I again studied GS as much as possible. So this is how I did it. There are different people manage it different ways. So this is how I managed it. I won't claim it's the ideal way, but then finally things did work out well. So I think it wasn't a pretty bad idea, but then this is what I did. Okay, so someone who is doing their internship and will complete MBBS in 2021 of March is asking whether he or she, Prince, I think. So yeah, whether Prince should start writing medical answers from now on. I would say Prince, now you sit and study the content that is there, for paper one and paper two. Writing you can start after studying all the theory. Now is not the time. Now you need not do it. You can focus on your content now. Oh, you've completed the basic reading of optional. Okay, then you can start writing. If you've completed the basic reading of optional, you can start writing. Okay. So there are 36 participants here. So before leaving, I hope this talk was useful for most of you. So see, the basic thing that all of you should understand is syllabus is the Bible. Don't divert from the syllabus. Stay glued to the syllabus. Paper one and paper two both are equally important. Paper two, I think scoring capabilities are more in paper two than paper one. Why paper one is a little bit tough to score is because it demands a lot of by hearting. That is why paper one is a little bit tough to score. So for paper one, finish the syllabus as much as possible and as fast as possible. And then keep rereading, and rereading them. Use a very smart plan where you will stay in touch with every subject in paper one, until you give your exams, because you shouldn't, those subjects and those words should be in your fingertips. So for that, revision is the key. So focus on that as much as possible. Figures are very important. If there is paucity of time and you have the option of drawing a figure and writing a paragraph, always go for drawing the figure. Now, whether you should use color pencils or not, again, depends on the time available, I would say. Then coming to paper two, finish all the theory. And after finishing the theory, then try and, imagine clinical scenarios wherein a patient comes, and then whatever just try to limit it in size and put it on a paper. So that needs practice. So for that, just practice answer writing as much as possible. I will try. I'm not, I won't completely guarantee, but then I'll try and pass on 1 or 2 answers that I gave, the mock answers I gave back during my preparation days. I'll try and pass on it to Adesh. I'll try to do that because I'm not at my home right now. I can't guarantee it, but then I'll try to do that. If you then one more thing, if you check my answer paper, of paper 1 and paper 2. More than paragraphs and more than all that content, you can see a lot of voters and speakers. And I think that might have made a difference. Okay. So I think with that, we can wind up the session for today. I'm a little bit, I would apologize for the technical issues that we had to face in the beginning, but then Wi-Fi is not under my control. I just tried and did my best. So all the best to all of you. I hope there are at least few people writing mains this year in this bunch. Special wishes to all of them. And for the rest of you, I would say if you have taken medical science as the optional, it's a good decision because it's a scientific subject. It's a very scoring paper. The success rate is also pretty good. It's all about revising and practicing writing. So focus on both of that. And then I think you will definitely have the potential to come out in flying colors.